Hello there, and welcome back to Exploration, a player design skill. My name is Gnome, also known as Screetmonge or Secret Gnome. About a week ago, I released an image post to the 2007 Scapes subreddit, describing an exploration skill which will be linked in the description, and it turned out quite popular, so thank you for all the incredible support. However, there was one particular criticism of the design that stood out and has been echoed in a few other corners of the internet that deserves more than a simple two-sentence statement. No, it deserves a dissertation, one that I wrote back in September, called The Challenges of Designing a Modern Skill, or CDMS for short, which will also be linked below. However, reading a 36-page document isn't appealing to most. Therefore, today I'd like to break down its most fundamental component as a direct response to this criticism of exploration. Right, let's begin. What about exploration turns some players off? The top criticism? The core of your skill, exploration, is boring. There's quite a bit to break down here, so let's take a step back. When it comes to new skills, the OSRS community is divided into two very distinct and opposing camps. Camp 1, what I'll call Camp Simplicity, and Camp 2, what I'll call Camp Complexity. If I'm guessing, based on previous skills, I'd say there's about a 60 to 40 split or so between these two camps. Therefore, both need to be acknowledged and appropriately served if you want a skill to pass a poll. Let's describe each in turn. Camp Simplicity wants a new skill that is simple and easily accessible. They love basic, repetitive grinds, involving simple action patterns that are very old school in style. They have a huge emphasis on avoiding minigame skills, or skills that are far too complex to simply jump in and out of. They want something to relax to, and to have some other content on their other screen. However, Camp Complexity wants a new skill that provides fresh and dynamic experiences, one that pushes the boundaries of current mechanics and would be a thrilling ride all the way to 99. Camp Complexity fears another lengthy grind that fails to pique their interest past level 50. This is, of course, a nearly unwinnable situation. These two camps are in near perfect opposition, and both powerful enough to stop a poll, so they both need to be respected if you ever want a new skill to pass, which is why, in CDMS, I proposed a solution: the clear delineation of a core activity of a skill versus the skill's expansions, as a compromise to serve the interests of both groups. The core of a skill takes inspiration from the pattern that previous skills set, and exists to serve Camp Simplicity. The core is the most basic, dumbed-down form of that skill idea, the result of asking the question, how do I take this skill's theme and put it into the simplest mechanics possible? You can often describe the core of every skill in 2 or 3 words: chop tree for woodcutting, forge gear for smithing, cast spells for magic, and for exploration, find destinations. Yes, it is simply wandering the world and exploring objects as they highlight around you, in the style of skill that the Gowers would release 20 years ago. By calling this the core of exploration, we've paid our due respect to that old-school definition of a skill. By keeping it grounded in the main game space and not pushing it into tiny instances, throwing it onto other areas outside of the current world map, or slapping on randomly generated lands, ensures that it feels integrated into the game world just like all the other skills. But as some people pointed out, many players won't want to take this core activity all the way to 99. It's just too much of the same thing. You need something more. Therefore, a skill needs a couple expansions to serve Camp Complexity. Expansions are the truly new and exciting experiences that should come packaged with a new skill. Once upon a time, you could sell a skill with just the core, just the very bare bones of what a skill looks like. But these days, people want the expansions to come too. The Winter Tods, the Hallowed Sepulchres, the Dungeon Raids, the minigames, and the like. There needs to be something to engage everyone. In exploration, you have encounters which act as supplements to the core activity. You have Veteran Explorers, a penguin-like expansion where you build strongly coordinated teams and race across Gielinor. And of course, Expeditions, which combine that sailing or dungeoneering randomized dungeon thrill, but with a proper old-school twist that involves elements like survival and preparation. What's most important to acknowledge for both Camp Simplicity and Complexity is that just because something is labeled as core or expansion doesn't dictate how you train or where the best experience rates will lie. Particularly for you of Camp Complexity, the core activity might sound unbearable to you, but from the first levels of your exploration journey, an exciting expansion like Expeditions would be available to you in a perfectly viable way to train. Similarly, just given the nature of simple versus complex designs, You can expect the vast majority of development time to be spent on expansions, but the basic familiar core has to have a place. Again, the challenge of designing skills is that both camps are too strong to ignore. There has to be a compromise, and the system of core and expansion, of respecting the 2007 way of how skills are defined, but also providing new and exciting experiences, is likely the best way to do it, whether that skill takes the form of exploration or something else entirely. And that will wrap up my response to some of your concerns about exploration. I know there's about a dozen other topics I could pick at individually, and a million fantastic suggestions from the community, but that would make this video far too long and unfocused. I hope that this discussion spans far beyond the borders of my own skill pitch, and that someday some genius will come along and solve the problem of old school's first skill. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.